In Devilfall Valley, death was never the end, only another form of rebirth. Where ancient beasts refused to die, and cultivators smiled while weighing each other's lives. Every step forward was a gamble between fate and greed. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. A crimson radiance suddenly burst forth from the heart of the ice barrier, and a towering pillar of flame swept outward in all directions, engulfing the ancient flame toad. Whether ice dragons or magic treasures, all were violently blasted away, scattered like withered leaves before a tempest. Within that blazing column of light, the faint silhouette of the ancient flame toad could still be discerned, looming and ferocious. Moments later, the pillar of flame rapidly dissipated. Realizing it was still trapped, the ancient flame toad seized this fleeting opportunity to flee. Its massive body collapsed inward, transforming into a seething sphere of raging flames that shot straight toward the breach it had torn open in the barrier. Seeing this, Marquis Nanlong and Lu Weiying hastily urged their magic treasures forward, desperately attempting to block the beast's escape from the spell formation. But they were a step too slow. In the blink of an eye, the flaming sphere reached the edge of the ice barrier. Just as the toad's forelegs left its surface, a piercing whistle tore through the air from afar. A streak of black light flashed into existence and swept toward the beast. The next instant, a scorching yet freezing sensation surged through its limb. To its horror, a large portion of its leg had been cleanly severed. The ancient flame toad shuddered violently, then let out a deafening roar of agony. No matter how formidable it was, such pain could not be endured. Its body faltered mid-air and plummeted heavily toward the ground. At this sight, Marquis Nanlong and Lu Weiying were overjoyed. Without hesitation, they commanded their treasures to converge, unleashing a relentless barrage upon the falling beast. The dark green ring blurred repeatedly before splitting into several hundred phantoms, whirling around the flame toad in an attempt to bind it. Meanwhile, the twin blue halberds flashed with icy light and transformed into 20-meter-long ice pythons, which lunged ferociously at their prey, worthy of being a great ancient beast that even Master Kang Kun once feared. The flame toad showed no sign of panic despite losing a limb. Dense layers of tiny light shields rapidly condensed around its body, forming a formidable defense as it braced itself for the incoming assault. The green ring phantoms were unable to draw close, their binding attempts thwarted as they struck uselessly against the shields. The ice pythons fared slightly better. Each icy lunge shattered a shield with brute force, but the shield seemed inexhaustible, reforming endlessly, rendering their efforts ineffective. Then suddenly, 6 beams of intense blue light pierced into the fray. One shield after another exploded into shards of light. With a thunderous roar, the ancient flame toad was finally overwhelmed, its resistance faltering. Marquis Nanlong turned in surprise and saw Han Li standing nearby, having appeared at some unknown moment. One of Han Li's arms was raised, black qi still dispersing from it. Behind him stood 6 tortoise puppets, each unleashing bowl-thick beams of blue light that relentlessly struck the flame toad. Han Li's gaze shifted briefly to the severed limb lying beyond the ice barrier. Though detached, it still glowed with crimson radiance, floating eerily in mid-air, as if retaining spiritual vitality. A flicker of astonishment crossed Han Li's eyes. Just moments earlier, when he saw the flame toad on the verge of escaping, Han Li had unleashed the Yin Devil execution in sheer desperation. He had not expected the beast to remain so ferocious, even after being gravely injured, withstanding the combined assault of 2 nascent soul cultivators and 6 puppets. No wonder Master Kang Kun had avoided confronting it while weakened. Lu Weiying shouted anxiously, "Fellow Taoist Han, these fire attribute shields are endless. If this drags on, it will take far too long. We'll need your ice attribute abilities to restrain it." As if to confirm his words, the shattered shields dissolved into mist, only to be sucked back into the toad's body, moments later reforming anew. Even without the warning, Han Li already understood. With a flick of his sleeve, More than 10 glittering golden swords shot forth. They circled him once before merging into a single 3-meter-long greatsword, radiant with golden light and exuding a bone-chilling aura. Lu Weiying and Marquis Nanlong exchanged puzzled looks. They had expected Han Li to unleash that terrifying blue flame again, not summon flying swords. Expressionless, Han Li raised his hand. The great sword flashed forward in a streak of gold. He then gently exhaled, blowing a wisp of blue flame onto the blade. Instantly roaring azure fire enveloped the sword. After a brief hesitation, Han Li formed a spell seal with a sharp clap. Thunder erupted as divine Devilbane lightning surged from within the sword. Golden arcs crackled wildly beneath the blue flames, filling the air with destructive power. A cold glint flashed in Han Li's eyes. Pointing downward, he commanded calmly. The air boomed as the sword cleaved forward a streak of golden thunder, tearing toward the flame toad. After enduring wave after wave of attacks, Marquis Nanlong and Lu Weiying were beginning to falter. Sensing the shift, the flame toad seized the moment. Fire-red spiritual light surged violently from its body as it began to swell, preparing another desperate strike to shatter the barrier. At that instant, the golden sword arrived above its head, crashing down with thunder trailing in its wake. The flame toad stared upward with emerald eyes, sensing mortal danger. Abandoning its charge, it croaked strangely and spat out a fist-sized scarlet fireball. Though small, the fireball shimmered like a flawless pearl of flame. The temperature within the ice barrier skyrocketed the moment it appeared. Demon core. Impossible, it's not material, Han Li thought, momentarily startled before relaxing. The beast would never dare unleash a true demon core so recklessly. Without hesitation, Han Li urged the sword onward. With a deafening bang, golden and crimson light collided. The great sword pierced only halfway into the fireball before being forcibly halted. A trace of disdain flickered in the flame toad's eyes. It howled, detonating the fireball. Scarlet light exploded outward, then instantly condensed into a 6-meter-long red python that lunged up and coiled tightly around the sword, locking it in place. Han Li was briefly stunned, then he smirked. Forming another seal, he pointed sharply. The sword flared brilliantly as golden lightning erupted across its surface, blasting the crimson python apart. The great sword vanished in a tremble, reappearing an instant later above the ancient flame toad. Azure flame surged violently as it descended. The surrounding shields froze solid under the icy flames and shattered like glass. In a single breath, more than 10 shields were destroyed. The sword continued downward, cleaving mercilessly toward the toad's head. The flame toad was struck by terror. Its essence flame had already been expended, and it had no time to recover. In desperation, it shot out its jet-black tongue while crouching to leap. Against ordinary treasures, this might have worked. But the bamboo cloud-swarm swords, refined with auric essence, were far too sharp. A flash of golden light, its tongue was severed instantly. Slash! As the ancient flame toad leapt 3 meters into the air, its massive head spun free from its body. The remaining light shields disintegrated into ash. It's done. Lu Weiying shouted in delight. Marquis Nanlong exhaled deeply, smiling as he formed a spell seal and stepped toward the ice barrier. Wait, Han Li shouted coldly. Marquis Nanlong froze, startled, instinctively reaching for his storage pouch. Lu Weiying's gaze sharpened with caution. Ignoring them, Han Li said calmly, I have yet to confirm its death. Please do not be hasty, brother Nanlong. What? It's still alive. Both men gasped and looked down. There, within the barrier, the severed head and body of the flame toad still glowed faintly, floating in mid-air. Eerily alive. 2 streams of scarlet light stretched forth from the severed head and body of the flame toad, slowly drawing toward one another as if guided by an unseen force attempting to reunite. Its body is immortal. The ancient flame toad actually possesses such an ability. Marquis Nanlong cried out in shock. Lu Weiying's expression was no less astonished. Immortal. Han Li scoffed softly. There is nothing in this world that is truly immortal. Its vitality merely surpasses that of ordinary demon beasts. Having perused countless ancient records, Han Li knew precisely what was meant by an so-called immortal body. Earlier, when he had severed the ancient flame toad's limb, he had already sensed something amiss from its strange behavior. That unease was precisely why he had urgently stopped Marquis Nanlong from dismantling the ice barrier, cutting off the beast's chance to regenerate and flee. A cold smile curled at the corner of Han Li's lips. He raised his finger and pointed once more at the flame toad's remains. The massive golden sword spun once through the air, then split cleanly into two identical blades, each streaking downward toward the separated body and head. In a flash of azure light, two dull explosions rang out. Layers of frost instantly sealed over the flame toad's remains, freezing them solid. The scarlet glow trapped within was shattered by the sword strikes and scattered like dying embers. When the frost dissipated, nothing remained of the ancient flame toad's body save for a single crimson sphere floating silently in mid-air. Its demon core. When Marquis Nanlong and Lu Weiying saw it, a trace of temptation flickered across both their faces. After all, this was the demon core of an ancient beast that possessed an immortal body who knew what extraordinary properties it might contain. Yet the moment they recalled the terrifying abilities Han Li had displayed earlier, along with his fearsome reputation, that greed was swiftly suppressed. They both understood clearly, should they turn hostile, their chances against Han Li would be no better than a gamble. Moreover, it was simply not worth risking everything over the core of an unfamiliar ancient beast. Devil Fall Valley still held countless opportunities for fortune. Though Han Li possessed no mind-reading techniques, he could easily guess their thoughts. Throughout the battle, neither cultivator had truly gone all out, instead subtly relying on him to deal the killing blow. Outwardly calm, Han Li had in fact grown increasingly vigilant, wary of any sudden lapse into foolish greed. Now, seeing their expressions settle back into composure, Han Li finally relaxed. While he feared no confrontation, avoiding unnecessary danger was always preferable. With a casual wave of his hand, Han Li summoned the demon core through the ice barrier into his palm. At the same time, the two massive flying swords rang crisply as they shattered back into more than 10 smaller blades, which vanished into his sleeve. Lowering his gaze, Han Li studied the fire-red demon core resting in his hand and let out a long breath. One of his objectives in Devil Fall Valley had finally been fulfilled. Marquis Nanlong smiled faintly. It is truly fortunate that fellow Taoist Han was present. Otherwise, slaying the ancient flame toad would not have been so simple. Let us enter its nest and take a look. Surely, Brother Han is also interested in the treasures left behind. Of course. Han Li nodded, storing the demon core away. Lu Weiying was clearly pleased, and after dismantling their spell formations, the three quickly entered the mountain cave together. To be honest, Han Li had briefly considered secretly releasing Silvermoon to seize the cave's treasures ahead of them. However, both Marquis Nanlong and Lu Weiying were exceedingly cunning, closely monitoring his every move, and their cultivation bases exceeded his own. It was highly likely they would detect such an action. Moreover, Han Li had already sensed something peculiar about the ancient cultivator's remains. Trusting his instincts, he chose not to act rashly. The three transformed into streaks of light and shot into the cave in an instant. Marquis Nanlong and Lu Weiying were momentarily startled by the sight of flowing lava, but quickly lost interest. Their gazes soon locked onto the stone platform ahead, where the remains of an ancient cultivator lay. Delight lit up their faces. Marquis Nanlong's smile faded slightly as he spoke coolly. "These must be the remains Master Kang Kun mentioned. Let us approach together." Neither Han Li nor Lu Weiying objected, and the three immediately moved closer. Floating more than 10 meters from the stone platform, Han Li studied the remains with restrained anticipation. The other two were far less reserved. They promptly released their spiritual sense, probing the remains for treasures. Seeing this, Han Li merely smiled faintly and said nothing. He had already noticed something amiss, and preferred to let them experience it firsthand. As their spiritual sense submerged into the skeleton, green light suddenly burst forth from the robes draped over it. Their probing was violently repelled before they could glimpse anything, causing both men to recoil in alarm. There's something strange about those robes," Lu Weiying muttered in surprise. Marquis Nanlong quickly regained his composure. "They are woven from green silkworm silk. Ancient cultivators often used such garments to prevent spiritual sense probing. Though rare today, they were quite common in antiquity." With a casual sweep of his hand, the green robe flew into his grasp. The skeleton beneath was fully revealed. Around its waist hung a small black pouch. "A storage pouch, just as expected," Lu Weiying exclaimed excitedly. Marquis Nanlong's eyes gleamed as well. He casually tossed the green robe aside, fixing his gaze upon the pouch with undisguised focus. When the robe struck the ground, Han Li's expression flickered almost imperceptibly. As the tension subtly rose, Marquis Nanlong smiled and said, "If you two have no objections, how about I examine the storage pouch first?" "By all means." "Brother Nanlong, please proceed," Han Li replied calmly, glancing briefly at the pouch. Lu Weiying hesitated, then nodded in agreement. Marquis Nanlong stepped forward, carefully taking the pouch into his hand. He swept it with his spiritual sense, and his expression stiffened. Seeing this, Lu Weiying couldn't help asking Brother Nanlong, "What's inside?" "You might as well let us see." Marquis Nanlong nodded. With a flick of his wrist, he inverted the pouch. A flash of white light erupted as its contents spilled onto the stone floor. "What in the world is this?" Lu Weiying cried out. Most of the items were lumps of scarlet metal radiating scorching heat. Among them were several particularly eye-catching objects: a white jade box, a small purple mirror, a yellow miniature sword, a set of green flying needles, and 2 black medicine bottles. Han Li's eyes narrowed slightly. His expression stirred. Aside from the jade box and medicine bottles, every item present was undoubtedly a rare ancient treasure. As for the box and bottles, they drew Han Li's interest even more. Their materials completely blocked his spiritual sense. Frowning, Han Li said, "I've never seen materials like these before, but they seem unfinished." After a moment's thought, Marquis Nanlong nodded slowly. "Indeed, if my guess is correct, these red metal chunks are Spiritor's legendary materials used by ancient cultivators to refine supreme treasures. Their refinement requires vast quantities of rare resources and worldly energy. Judging by the number here, this ancient cultivator must have intended to forge an exceptionally powerful fire attribute treasure." "Spiritors," Han Li murmured. The term stirred a memory from an ancient text he had once read. After a brief recollection, he confirmed Marquis Nanlong's words. Lu Weiying's eyes lit up with excitement as he surveyed the remaining items, his gaze lingering on the jade box and medicine bottles. At that moment, Marquis Nanlong casually tossed the empty storage pouch toward Han Li. Han Li instinctively caught it, momentarily surprised, before understanding his intent. He weighed it, briefly confirmed its contents, then tossed it to Lu Weiying. Lu Weiying inspected it and nodded, satisfied. Marquis Nanlong then spoke solemnly, addressing the key matter at hand. "Let us divide these treasures. How about each of us selecting 2 items?" Han Li's gaze flickered slightly. Noticing the subtle change in Lu Weiying's expression, he spoke calmly. "Could it be that Brother Lu has another proposal for how we divide the treasures? If the jade box and the medicine bottles were also ancient treasures, then each of us taking 2 items would pose no issue. But," Lu Weiying hesitated, "we still don't know what lies inside the jade box and the medicine bottles. Naturally, we should first inspect their contents and then divide them according to their value." Marquis Nanlong interjected smoothly, his words sounding fair and reasonable. Lu Weiying frowned slightly upon hearing this, but after a brief pause, he nodded. "I also find these terms acceptable. What about you, fellow Taoist Han?" "I have no objections." "Let us proceed that way," Han Li replied without hesitation. Fellow Taoist Han is quite forthright. Marquis Nanlong appeared satisfied. With a sweep of his hand, he summoned the white jade box into his grasp. He slapped it lightly with his other palm, attempting to open it. The moment the box was disturbed, white light burst forth, forming a luminous barrier that repelled his hand. There's a restriction on it, Marquis Nanlong muttered. After a moment of contemplation, golden light flared from his hand as he reached out once more. The white and golden lights intertwined fiercely. After a brief stalemate, the golden light suddenly crackled forcibly, tearing the restriction apart. The white radiance vanished, momentarily blinding Han Li before his vision cleared, revealing a faintly yellow jade slip resting quietly within the box. Lu Weiying's expression turned strange. Marquis Nanlong hesitated briefly, then placed the jade slip against his forehead. After scanning its contents in an instant, his expression grew equally peculiar. Fellow Taoists, take a look for yourselves. Fearing suspicion, Marquis Nanlong quickly tossed the jade slip toward Han Li. Han Li caught it and pressed it to his forehead. A frown slowly formed on his face before he passed it to Lu Weiying, who likewise skimmed through it. Before Lu Weiying even finished reading, he muttered, "The seven-flame fan. I've never heard of such an ancient treasure. Is it truly powerful?" Marquis Nanlong pondered for a moment. "I cannot be certain. However, judging by the refinement method recorded here and the fact that it requires spirit ore, it should be quite formidable." Lu Weiying shook his head and handed the jade slip back. "Even so, it's useless. The refinement requires 81 fire attribute spirit materials and an equal number of supplementary materials. Many of them no longer exist in this world. This jade slip has little practical value at best. It serves as a reference for research." Marquis Nanlong smiled faintly and casually placed the jade slip back into the box. Just as Han Li mentally classified the jade slip as worthless, Silver Moon's delighted voice suddenly rang out in his mind. "The seven-flame fan. Master, does that jade slip truly contain its refinement method?" Han Li's expression shifted subtly. "That's right. Do you recognize it?" Silver Moon's voice trembled with excitement. "Master, if my memory serves, the seven-flame fan is a divine spirit treasure. Though its rank among divine spirit treasures was not high, it should be around the lower teens." Divine spirit treasure. Han Li couldn't help but exclaim inwardly in shock. Before he could continue, the monarch of soul divergence suddenly spoke with excitement as well. "What? A divine spirit treasure? You must obtain that jade slip no matter what. I once wished to study divine spirit treasures, but their refinement methods are exceedingly rare." Silver Moon's tone instantly turned icy. "Old eccentric. What nonsense are you spouting now?" The monarch of soul divergence chuckled leisurely. "Still holding a grudge, little demon fox. I was merely curious. After all, I'd never heard of an intelligent tool spirit before." "Didn't your master agree at the time as well?" Enough." Han Li spoke coldly. "Silver Moon, the matter is already past. Don't dwell on it. Still, it is surprising that Senior is familiar with divine spirit treasures. However, now is not the time to discuss this. We'll speak of it later." With that, Han Li turned his attention back to the jade box as Marquis Nanlong began opening the black medicine bottles. Silver Moon fell silent, suppressing her displeasure. No matter how resentful she felt toward the monarch of soul divergence, she remained bound to Han Li's will. The moment Marquis Nanlong opened one of the bottles, a soothing fragrance wafted out. Han Li's mind shook slightly upon smelling it. Marquis Nanlong carefully removed a jade-green pill, its surface glistening as it lay in his palm. He hesitated and said, "This is no ordinary ancient pill. I can't identify it for now, but it shouldn't be harmful. I'll need to consult records." Lu Weiying stared intently and asked slowly, "How many pills are in the bottle?" Marquis Nanlong turned the bottle upside down for them to see. "Only one. But judging from its aura, it's extremely valuable." "Then open the other bottle," Lu Weiying urged impatiently. Marquis Nanlong nodded, sealed the pill away, and opened the second bottle, revealing an identical jade-green pill. The two elders exchanged wary glances. Han Li smiled faintly. "It seems our harvest is quite bountiful. 3 ancient treasures, 2 unknown spirit pills, and the refinement method for an ancient treasure. How do you think we should divide these? Marquis Nanlong looked at the medicine bottles and said calmly, "Fellow Taoist Han should understand that Lu Wei-ying and I entered Devil Fall Valley in search of spiritual medicines. We intend to divide the 2 pills between us. In exchange, fellow Taoist Han may have priority in selecting the ancient treasures. We hope you have no objections." Han Li frowned slightly and glanced at the treasures scattered on the ground. After stroking his chin, he shook his head. "You two should know the value of those ancient pills without me saying it. To be honest, I'd rather obtain a spirit pill to advance my cultivation than acquire another ancient treasure." The atmosphere instantly tightened. Marquis Nanlong's expression shifted before he forced a smile. "Fellow Taoist Han is still young. There's no need to contend with 2 people nearing the end of their lifespans over a pair of spirit pills. You've already reached early nascent soul in such a short time, your future potential is boundless." Han Lai replied softly, "My age and my desire for those pills are unrelated. Such an opportunity lies before me. It is only natural to seize it with all my might. That said, I'm willing to relinquish all other treasures in exchange for the 2 pills. Frankly speaking, I lack no ordinary ancient treasures." Lu Weiying grew visibly tense. Gritting his teeth, he said, "Fellow Taoist Han must be joking. How could we possibly give up both pills? How about this if Brother Han renounces his claim to them? We'll allow him to choose his entire share of treasures first." "Brother Nanlong." Marquis Nanlong grimaced, then sighed with a bitter smile. "If he gives up the spirit pills, then let fellow Taoist Han have priority in selecting 2 treasures." A trace of reluctance crossed Marquis Nanlong's face. Most of his ancient treasures had been destroyed during the Ghost Spirit Sect's siege in the Mulan Plains. Seeing so many before him now, he found it difficult to part with them, but the spirit pills were far more valuable to him. At this moment, Han Li showed a hint of hesitation, as if truly tempted. Seizing the chance, Lu Weiying hurriedly added, "Fellow Taoist Han has a long lifespan ahead of him. There will be other chances to seek pills. Ancient treasures, however, are immediately useful. Possessing one more could very well save your life in future battles." Han Li smiled faintly. "It seems that unless I relinquish the spirit pills, this division will remain difficult. Very well. Since you two are so sincere, I will concede the pills. I do not need 2 ancient treasures, only the mirror. In addition, I want the refinement method and the spirit ores. I am quite interested in tool refinement." As he spoke, Han Li extended his hand and summoned the purple mirror into his grasp. Marquis Nanlong and Lu Weiying exchanged glances, then promptly nodded. "Then let us do as you say, Brother Han." Though puzzled by Han Li's choices, they saw no reason to probe further now that the spirit pills were secured. Han Li nodded calmly. With a flash of light, the mirror vanished into his storage. Moments later, he swept his sleeve, gathering the jade box and refinement materials into a swirl of green light, causing them to disappear from sight. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.